Today, we really need to recognize that nitrates are not all the same and that they have to be given in different ways, or what I call different dosing strategies, to maintain vascular responsiveness. For instance, the patches are probably the most likely formulations available to induce tolerance. In other words, put a patch on, do the measurements serially over the first day or two, and what one finds is that the 2- and 4-hour effects with acute dosing are excellent, classic nitrate responses. But at 12, 18, and 24, there is a diminishing response in most patients. And early data from John Parker in Canada indicated that if you took the patch every day, one could completely lose the anti-anginal benefits in placebo-controlled studies. He also showed that with a long-acting isosorbide dinitrate ointment, suggesting that it really wasn't the patch, but it was the sustained plasma concentrations. When that data was published, and I and others began to focus on it, there was a hue and cry from many people, many physicians, as well as from industry, particularly the patch manufacturers, because they said, this is impossible. These are wonderful products. Everyone loves them. They're working. And we said, well, gee, how can that be when there are some worrisome studies? And then there was then a battle of investigations, and there were some uncontrolled and a couple of well-done studies, particularly from Italy, which seemed to indicate that there might not be such a problem with tolerance. But I don't think today anyone, including the most hardcore proponents of the patch, are willing to say that patches do not produce tolerance in most patients, and that this tolerance is not really important.
Dr. Abrams' colleagues at the ACC symposium were Dr. John Parker from Queen's University in Ontario, Canada, Dr. Udo Tadani from the University of Oklahoma, and Dr. Sigmund Silber from the University of Alabama at Birmingham.
Our studies have been really interesting in documenting that the nitrates, although very useful during initial therapy, unless you dose with them properly, you'll regularly run into a problem of diminished effect or tolerance. And as an overview, whether you give a medication orally or through a transdermal route, if the treatment strategy is designed to produce an effect of therapy for a 24-hour period, you're going to regularly be associated with diminished effects. Thus, whether you're using tablets or a transdermal preparation, you really must give it intermittently and provide a period where nitrates are cleared from the circulation for a period that we really don't understand this exact duration, but probably of the range of 8 to 12 hours.
I showed data on patches, nitroglycerin patches from different studies, and the consensus of opinion is that from majority of the studies is that if you use them on a daily basis without interruption, it leads to development of tolerance, defined of lack of effect or diminished effect over time. This tolerance in some other studies has become almost complete. That means lack of effect even at 4 hours, while the studies from Italy consistently have shown that tolerance doesn't develop despite using patches once a day. On the other hand, if you use the treatment intermittently, there's data that tolerance may not be a problem, but more data is required at 8 and 12 hours before saying that you can use the patches for a 12-hour period.
Towards the end of the last decade, there was increasing evidence that chronic administration of nitrates lead not only to the loss of headaches, but also to the loss of the anti-ischemic effect, which was called nitrate tolerance. In our series of studies started 6 years ago, we went a new way by reducing the number of ingestions from 3 or 4 times daily to twice daily and even once daily. And we have performed a whole variety of studies with different dosages and different dosage intervals. And I think that the best trade-off between the number of tablets to be ingested, the amount of the anti-ischemic effect, and the avoidance of tolerance is the once daily ingestions of a high single dosage of isosorbide dinitrate in sustained release form.
And I can guarantee you that within the next 5 years, the patch manufacturers in the United States and around the world are going to be having dosing regulations and guidelines, either that they produce themselves or that will be imposed upon them for intermittent strategies. It's not a guarantee, but it's a strong suspicion that this is the case. And the data is beginning already to accumulate, which corroborates the early studies that, yes, continuous application is a problem, and that, as we would have anticipated, intermittent on-off dosing, as with any long-acting nitrate, completely, or seems to completely, eliminate this problem.